Hello students and welcome to this video on joint costing. It's called Beefree. Before you watch this video, please make sure that you watch prior to this one. You watch the sizzling video because the questions are quite similar, and in the sizzling I do explain in detail the weighing, the rules around weighing the joint cost. So this question reads that Beefree Limited produces two products. It's called B and Free. They give you a selling price immediately after split off. So that's before the product was further processed. Then they give you a selling price per unit when the product has been further processed. Then the production units, 10,000 and 15,000. And then further processing cost is 25 Rand and 12 Rand 50 per unit. Then they also give you the joint cost, and they say the total joint cost is 200,000 Rand. So in the first required part, they tell you that the product is not further processed, it's immediately sold, and that you need to allocate it the joint cost based on physical units. So let's see. In 3.1, I am then going to say we have two products. It is B and Free. And we're going to start with the sales. And we are going to have to deduct the joint cost so that we can get to the profit. So the sales price that we will use is one before split off. So it's 100 Rand times 10,000 units for B. And for Free, it was 105 times 15,000 units. If we look at the total joint cost given to us was 200,000, and we have to split it based on physical units. So the physical units was 10,000 and 15,000. So the sum of those two would be 25,000 units. In order to split the joint cost, I'm going to say it's 10,000 units divided by a total of 25,000 units times the 200,000 Rand joint cost. And for Free, I'm going to say it's 15,000 units divided by a total of 25,000 units times the joint cost of 200,000. Right, then we can go and calculate our profit. It is sales minus the joint cost. Right, and we are done. We can move to 3.2. In 3.2, they say assume that the products are further processed and then sold. Calculate the profit when the sales value method is applied when the joint costs are allocated. So now we're going to use a different sales price. We're going to have again sales. We're going to have further processing costs, and we are going to have the joint cost. And if we minus the two types of costs from the sale, we will get to profit. I'm just going to copy the names of the products. Right, so for sales, the products are now further processed, so it's going to be 200 Rand for B times 10,000. And it is for Free, it's then 180 times 15,000 units. I'm going to get to my total sales value because the sales value, as per the required, needs to be the weighing fraction by which the joint cost is divided. Then for the further processing costs, it was 25 Rand, it seems, and 12 Rand 50. So it's going to be 25 Rand times 10,000 units and 12 Rand 50 times 15,000 units. And then we need to split the joint cost. The total joint cost is 200,000. And I am going to now use the sales value. So I'm just going to highlight it because I'm going to use the sales value to split the joint cost as a weighing. So the joint cost for B will be its sales divided by the total sales times by the cost as it relates to the total of joint cost. And please follow the instruction and just make sure that you use 2 decimal places. Then for free, we're going to take the sales divided by the total times by the total joint cost. And again, we just need to make sure that we round to 2 decimal places. If we are calculating the profit, it will be the sales minus the 2 types of costs. And then we have answer 3.2. Moving to 3.3 in the required part. They tell us to assume that the products are further processed and that we use the net realizable value. So the net realizable value is that we use a weighing of the sales price minus the further processing cost. So let's explore that. So the sales and the further processing cost will be exactly the same because the product is further processed. So I'm just going to see if I can copy the totals. Right, then we need to go and calculate our net realizable value. And that is the difference between the sales and the further processing cost. And we need to get to the total because this amount is going to be our weighing. So I'm just going to now highlight in yellow the weighing factor. Right. Then we are going to split the joint cost. It was given to us as 200,000 in total. For B, we're going to take the net realizable value for B divided by the total of net realizable value times the joint cost. Please remember 2 decimal places. Same for free. Take the net realizable value divided by the total net realizable value times the 200,000. Again, I'm just going to use 2 decimal places and then we can get to our profit because the profit will be the net realizable value minus the joint cost. And we have answered 3.3. We are left with 3.4. Right. So for 3.4, they ask us in the required part that we need to assume that the products are further processed. Then we need to calculate the profit by applying the gross profit method to allocate the joint costs to the different products. Right, so now, again, we have to assume that it's further processed. So I'm just going to use the same values again, because we're just going to multiply the same amount. Then we need to go and calculate our gross profit. So that was our first step. We need to calculate the gross profit. If I can never spell correctly. So we need to get to the total of our further processing cost because the gross profit will be calculated for the whole company or for the company as a whole. And then the joint cost total is already given to us. It's 200,000. And then we can get to our gross profit, which is then the sales minus the costs. In step 2, we need to in step 2, we need to calculate the markup. So here I am going to say it is the gross profit divided by the sales times by 100. And the gross profit margin will then be this gross profit divided by the total sales times by 100. And that gives me, rounded to 2 decimals, 86.44%. Please remember this is in percentage. Right, we are on step number 3. And that is to now calculate your joint cost, but remember that we do it backwardly. So we're going to have all our products and now do our calculation per product. And we will need the same information as previously. So I'm just again going to copy it. Right, so then we need to go and calculate our gross profit. Our gross profit is 86.44% of the sales. So it's the sales times 0.8644. Sales times 0.8644. So I've just used the decimal. Right. Then we can get to our joint cost, because the joint cost will be the sales minus the further processing cost minus the profit. Right, if we add these two together, it should be slightly over or under the 200,000. So you will see it's just a bit lesser because of this rounding that we've done there. If it had been a precise percentage like 20, 25, it would work out perfectly, but the subtle or small difference doesn't make a difference. The answer is still correct because the small difference is immaterial. Right, so that was the question that I wanted to run through regarding the joint costing. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and if you have any further questions, please contact me so that we can clear up any misunderstandings or anything that you don't understand. So until I hear from you, keep well.